MVP, when I think of Disney's most valuable player, definitely not thinking of Dave or Kevin. It's Mr. Steve Absel. Steve Absel for 20th Century Studios, formerly known as 20th Century Fox. And, you know, the state of Star Wars, as long as Kathleen's in charge, you know where that is. Okay? You know where the state of Marvel's headed towards with Kevin in charge. Uh, I mean, the Muppets is pretty much in the same place it's always been, but I think that Frank Oz once described the Muppets as having more adult humor back then. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you an article from last year. As he was celebrating his 20th anniversary being in business for 20th century, I guess, and there was a different person in charge, a woman, but then after the Disney acquisition, then they changed things. Okay, so this is from The Hollywood Reporter. And I'm going to just read a little bit of the intro here. There was already enough pressure on Steve Asbell as he began the first day of his new job as president of 20th Century Studios in March 2020, just before the lockdowns. What a way to start. The preceding few years were tumultuous for the company as Disney initiated and finalized its acquisition of the venerable studio, leaving the future of many employees, divisions, and films uncertain. The nadir was the resignation of president of the production, Emma Watts, in January 2020, leaving the new, now Disney-owned division leaderless. So a woman was in charge, and then he took over. So, but that was all prelude to his Aspel's baptism by fire, the pandemic, and the shutdown that hit the industry. My first official day on the job happened to be the last day of shooting for The Last Duel. I'm not sure if that one's any good. Anyone seen The Last Duel? He called director Ridley Scott, and they had a tough conversation about options and risks. They decided to shut down the movie. It was a strange first day for sure. So 2 years passed. He's done No Exit. Came out on Hulu. So Hulu and 20th Century movies, that's his thing. All-Star Team. So, of course, we have the other heads. So let's get to the meat about this. Rebranded as, so he's asking Viacom, CBS, rebranded as Paramount. What does that mean? Despite all the challenges of COVID. Okay, so, it's kind of very patronizing here. Let's get to this part. So he's asking a question, and that is, THR is asking a question. How distinct, can I see my question, please? Hold up. Okay. How distinct a brand is 20th within Disney? How does a 20th movie distinguish itself versus a Disney movie or a Searchlight movie? And this is Steve's answer. In relation to the other brands, Marvel, Star Wars, Pixar, Disney Animation, we are closer to what you would call general entertainment on the TV side. Some films will be more Disney adjacent. Avatar, which was good. I liked The Way of Water. Wasn't a great sequel, but it's fine. It's a sequel that I can kind of revisit, maybe rent, but I wasn't in love with it. I felt like it was repeating some beats, but some things worked. Overall, you could say that The Way of Water, if it did have any woke ideologies, you didn't see them. And it was more objective, I would say, for The Way of Water. So let me go back to the interview. Free City, not Free City, Free Guy. I keep wanting to say Dark City for some shit. Avatar, Free Guy, Planet of the Apes, and some films would be edgier. We remain making commercial films for a global audience. We remain what we have always tried to be, which is a supportive working environment for talent. But thanks to this increase in streaming output, with the exception of few titles, all of our movies will launch on Hulu domestically, Star Plus internationally, which will allow us to make the genres that we love. Genres that Disney doesn't make in the other divisions, and that we haven't been able to play with as much in recent years. Comedy, thriller, young adult horror, we get more of these at bats, and we can make more bets on new talent. The next question is, is it originals, remakes, or mix? It's a mix, he says. In order to meet the volume that we are looking at, which is by 2023. 10 plus movies just for streaming. It's going to be a combination of originals in these genres. And coolest of all for fans, we get to find bold takes on beloved Fox properties. You can take big creative swings, which you'll see with Prey, which I heard was very good. The Predator prequel. Prey will launch this summer. That's for 2022. A Predator movie set in the Great Plains in 1719 by Dan Trachtenberg. That's what this allows us to do. The next question is, how many theatrical features are you planning for 23-24? It goes like other divisions. 2 or 3 theatrical movies a year. We're navigating like Marketplace like everyone else. There are movies like Avatar, Planet of the Apes, and now Free Guy that have, well, I have not seen Free Guy, so I don't know if somebody will tell me. And that trailer for Kingdom looks pretty good. That have well-established theatrical precedents for a wide audience. It sounds like the theatrical stuff will be more established titles. For now, he says, we will evaluate these decisions film by film, and looking at the marketplace as it is, and making the predictions that we can. We do have original films of scale in development that we haven't announced yet. And it will be whatever feels right for that number of films per year. What's great about all of this is that we have both. We have the explosive new streaming mandate to pursue, and we also have titles yet that we have to make for theatrical. We have more Avatar movies coming. We have more Free Guy movies coming. We're going to be pretty... I got to look up Free Guy. Since Geeks and Gamers have not talked bad about it, I'm assuming that Free Guy must be something of value here. Fox was known for some of the relationships with its key filmmakers, such as Ridley Scott, James Cameron, James Mangold. Has the Disney era changed that? Ridley is a relationship that I've had personally for 20 years, and we've made 6 films together, and we just renewed his overall deal. James Mangold, who I'm also close to, having made Wolverine, Logan, Ford versus Ferrari, renewed his overall deal too. We're in very current business with all of them. And we have a number of films we're developing for Ridley to direct after he's done with Napoleon, which I've heard was good. Some people didn't like it, some people did. So the relationships have not been affected at all. Will Avatar stick to its 2022 release date? No pause at all. Yes, it will. And for real. It's going to blow people away. You're not ready for what Jim is doing. No, we're still not ready for what he's doing. Given how long it's been since the first Avatar film, how will the studio ignite enough audience interest to justify their budgets once the sequels finally hit? I could tell you that there is no better marketing apparatus in the business than the one at Disney. They will do an incredible job reigniting that passion for the original film. This is not just a sequel, it's a saga, and it's a family saga, and it will be compelling on its own. But it'll also be extremely compelling to return to those characters to see how they've evolved. It's less about Avatar being a really big movie and more about how Avatar was a really important cultural moment for audiences. I don't think it will be hard to convince people to come back. And so the next question is, studios are starting to make interconnections between films and streaming TV shows. Paramount just announced one with Sonic. Is this something that you are looking into? It's part of how Lucasfilm and Marvel do it, and we may explore it at some point, but not yet. What is the status of the Free Guy sequel? We're awaiting a script that is days away. It's a fantastic story. Will there be more Agatha Christie adaptations? We have the Poirot franchise. We have other Christie stories. I love these films. I love Ken Branagh. Branagh? Yeah, I think Ken Branagh did that Christopher Nolan movie, Tenet. I remember that. He was good. Who plays Detective Hercule Poirot and directed Murder on the Orient Express and Death on the Nile. We have a third script written by Michael Green. That is a pretty daring shift in genre and in tone. It's post-war Venice and an adaptation of one of the lesser-known novels, so I think you'll see the mustache again. Would the mustache direct as well? Steve says, yes, Ken is Poirot, but Ken is also the series. What's new with Planet of the Apes? We are expecting a draft very shortly, and it's Wes Ball attached to direct. We hope to go by the late summer, early fall. 20 was one thing before 2020, and it's something else now in 2022. Your situation is not one of a normal company or agency coming back to the workplace. Looking back from the start of your job to your view now, how do you think this tumultuous 2-year period affected you and the company itself? I think it's made us aware of our lives. As we zoom into each other's kitchens every day, and we learn, okay, let's see. We're just helping. So let me skip ahead here. And Disney has been so embracing of us, and they invited us into a culture, and it actually has been a period of significant growth. And quite frankly, I credit Disney, I credit the team that is being built. We're coming out of this with the bond, and I don't think we would have if we were just a company or an agency that was coming back to the office. So that's pretty much it. There's a little bit more, but it's a little patronizing here. Let me get my final thoughts. And there is a color version of the logo of 20th Century Studios. So he is like the favorite son. I mean, Steve is like the favorite son, okay? The son that isn't going and taking drugs and he's trying to stay in school and going to Stanford University, okay? If these investors are paying attention, they say, hey, you know, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things doesn't belong, and yet it does belong because Disney owns it. So you got Aliens, you got Predator, you got Avatar, and Free Guy, Planet of the Apes. Here's what I think should happen, okay? And this is a hard one because, again, Kathleen's in charge. But I think 20th Century Studios, I think George Lucas should have been like, hey, you know what? 20th Century Studios should... But again, this is the problem, was that had he sold it to Fox, and then Disney acquired 20th Century Fox, and then Steve Asbell would have been in charge of Star Wars. If George Lucas had sold Star Wars to Fox, we would have been talking about the movies and how great they were. It would have been a completely different fucking universe if Steve Asbell somehow acquired the presidential rights over Star Wars. Okay? If he was the custodian of Star Wars because it went to Fox, and then Fox went to Disney. That's what would have happened. Now, what happened the way it did happen was shit. And you go back to Marvel. And up until, like, you could say Endgame, because Endgame really shoehorned Captain Marvel in there, right? Everything seemed to work. But then it started to fall apart. It's like when I stopped collecting those comic books of Ultimate Marvel after 2006. Things started to fall apart. And there's not much left to hold on to. I don't know what Kevin's trying to do. Now, Madam Web, I think, is going to premiere before Deadpool 3, because I did make a community post that Deadpool 3, if I could find that really quick, Deadpool 3 is actually starting production again. And that's good news, I think, if I could find that. I mean, like, Steve is not trying to do this or that. He's just, what he's trying to do is like, and this is the way I see it. And here it is here. I don't know if nobody saw it, but there is my post. There you see resumes production. I'll read it to you what it says. Deadpool 3 production returns. It seems to be the only MCU movie for 2024. Being that it's 20th century, it might be less woke, less broke. Maybe Madam Web should premiere before. So Madam Web would be the appetizer, and then we'll see Deadpool 3. And yeah, I don't think... I think some people are just on woke watch, a lot of the grifters, okay? Ryan Kittle and Eric July and all these people, okay? And Jeremy, fine. I'm not on woke watch necessarily. I know what's going on. Disney has admitted that their bottom line has fallen. They know that they fucked up. Even you got the actress playing Kamala Khan knows that something's not right. I mean, the Marvels lost money, right? So I think it would be wise. I mean, I guess it would be a sense of insurrection. But if Steve Asbell is friends, is buddies, good buddies with any of these people, I mean, any of these people who are the investors, the shareholders, if Steve Asbell has lunch with any of these shareholders, right, that can lead to something to where it's like, hey, look at this guy. You know, it's like when they say, why can't you be more like your brother? You know, that thing that parents say to the kids, it's awful. But why can't you be more like Steve? This guy is making you money. The left-wing, right-wing politics are harsh medicines that you crush into powder, you flavor it with grape, and you stuff it in the meal. You don't make the meal 90% medicine, 10% food. Look what happened with Doctor Who. This is not what happens. And if I were to see a Daily Wire movie, I would probably be turned off too. I don't want to see a Daily Wire movie. I don't want to see everybody with white skin and machine guns every 5 seconds. And I don't want to see transgender jump up in the air, hey, look at me, alphabet people every 5 seconds either. I want to see the movie that we are supposed to see. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes looks like a spiritual sequel to the 3 movies. And then you got other things. And you got other. It may not be completely exactly in canon, but it's got this sort of soft reboot movie that's now under 20th Century Studios. And then Avatar movies may be coming, and Free Guy, Agatha Christie. Look at all these movies. Would you rather watch 20th Century? You know what I mean? I would rather 20th Century. I would rather 20th Century than Disney, Marvel, or Star Wars. They're spinning in their own. They're spinning in their own shit. So anyway, that's all I wanted to do. 16 minutes in. If you like this video, you know what to do. There is the MVP. That's it. That's all there is to it, and nothing more to be said. Let's look forward to Deadpool 3 and Madam Web.